Let's talk about something most men don't like to admit out loud, but deep down they know it's true. A bad woman can ruin your life quicker than anything else. She doesn't need to raise her voice. She doesn't need to throw a punch. She doesn't need to burn your house down. All she needs is your time, your attention, and your willingness to ignore the signs that were right there in front of you. Because when a man ignores those signs, when he lets her beauty or her charm or that temporary rush of excitement blind him, he becomes a prisoner in a relationship where his energy, his peace, his money, and his self-worth are slowly drained away piece by piece. And let's be honest, most men don't see these signs because they don't want to. They see the beauty, the charm, the way she makes them feel when things are good, and they convince themselves that's enough to outweigh the bad. But here's the problem: a bad woman doesn't just bring bad moments. She brings bad patterns. And patterns don't change because you hope they will. They change only if she decides to grow. And most of the time, she doesn't want to grow because growth means accountability. And accountability is the one thing a bad woman will run from every time. Look at how she handles responsibility. When something goes wrong, does she own it, or does she immediately point the finger at you, at her friends, at her parents, at her exes, at anyone but herself? A bad woman never takes responsibility because in her world, she's always the victim. She'll tell you about how every ex mistreated her, how every friend betrayed her, how every job didn't appreciate her. And at first, you'll feel sympathy. You'll want to be the one man who proves her wrong. But what you don't realize is you're about to join that list. Because if every story she tells makes her look like the hero and everyone else the villain, it's only a matter of time before you're cast as the next enemy in her drama. A bad woman also knows how to use intimacy as a weapon. She'll give affection when she wants something and withhold it when she wants control. She turns love into a bargaining chip. She makes you work for basic kindness, and you don't even realize it because you're too focused on getting back to the version of her that once made you feel alive. But pay attention. If her love comes with conditions, if it feels like you have to earn her approval just to be treated with respect, that's not love, that's manipulation. Notice her relationship with the truth. A bad woman lies easily, smoothly, without hesitation. Sometimes it's small lies about where she was. Sometimes it's big lies about who she's with or what she's doing. But the most dangerous lies are the ones that twist reality just enough to make you doubt your own instincts. You catch her in something suspicious, and instead of answering directly, she flips it on you. Why are you so insecure? Why don't you trust me? You're just being paranoid. And suddenly, you're the one apologizing when you were the one being deceived. That's how bad women keep power. They turn the spotlight off their behavior and onto your reaction. Pay attention to her friends. Are they constantly in chaos too? Do they hop from relationship to relationship, surrounded by drama, gossip, betrayal? Because women who keep toxic circles usually mirror the same behavior. You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. And if her closest friends normalize dysfunction, don't be surprised when she drags you into the same mess. A bad woman also plays the comparison game. She'll bring up other men, not to praise them, but to make you feel less than. So bought his girlfriend this, or my friend's boyfriend takes her there, or treats her better than you treat me. That's not inspiration, that's sabotage. She wants to break you down, make you feel unworthy, make you compete for her validation. And the truth is, a woman who truly loves you doesn't weaponize comparisons. She uplifts you, encourages you, pushes you to be better without making you feel like you're not enough. Now let's talk about consistency. A bad woman is inconsistent by design. One day she's the sweetest person you've ever met. The next she's cold, distant, or explosive. She keeps you off balance because uncertainty keeps you chasing. You start to think, maybe if I do better, maybe if I work harder, maybe if I change this or that, I'll get back the good version of her. But the truth is that version of her is temporary. It's bait. It's just enough kindness to keep you hooked while she continues to drain you. That's how she wins, not by being consistently bad, but by being unpredictably good. And notice how she reacts when you set standards. If you tell her what you need, if you draw a line, does she respect it or does she mock it? A bad woman will always test your standards because she sees them as obstacles to her control. She'll say things like, "You're too demanding," or "No woman would put up with you," or "You're just being controlling." She'll twist it to make you feel guilty for having expectations. But understand this, having standards is not controlling its self-respect. And if a woman punishes you for respecting yourself, she's showing you exactly who she is. Another sign is entitlement. A bad woman believes the world owes her everything, and you especially owe her more than you can ever give. She'll demand without gratitude, expect without effort, and complain even when you provide. Gratitude is the oxygen of a healthy relationship, but entitlement suffocates it. And if you're with a woman who never says thank you, who never appreciates what you bring, who always wants more while giving less, you're not with a partner, you're with a parasite. Pay attention to her vision for the future. Does she have goals? Does she have ambition? Or is her whole plan based on what you can provide for her? A bad woman doesn't want to build a life with you. She wants to enjoy the life you've built without adding anything in return. She'll talk about your money, your car, your house, your status. But when you ask her what she's bringing to the table, suddenly the conversation gets uncomfortable. That's because a bad woman doesn't see herself as a teammate. She sees herself as a prize you should feel lucky to have, even if she does nothing to earn that role. And look closely at her patterns of respect. Respect is not about big gestures, it's about the small things. Does she roll her eyes when you talk? Does she dismiss your opinions? Does she cut you off mid-sentence? Does she mock your values, your beliefs, your family? Those small cuts add up, and before long, your self-esteem is bleeding out without you realizing it. A good woman makes you feel like your voice matters. A bad woman makes you feel invisible, even when you're standing right in front of her. A bad woman also thrives on control. She wants to decide who you spend time with, where you go, how you act, even how you think. She disguises it as caring, but caring doesn't cage you. Control cages you. If you feel like you're slowly losing your independence, like you're becoming smaller and smaller and smaller just to keep the peace, you're not loved, you're managed. And love should never feel like management. Then there's the issue of loyalty. A bad woman is loyal only when it's convenient. She's by your side when things are easy, when the money's flowing, when the fun is there. But the moment hardship hits, the moment you need patience, support, or sacrifice, she starts looking for exits. She doesn't see relationships as commitments. She sees them as contracts that can be broken whenever she feels uncomfortable. If her loyalty has an expiration date, she was never really loyal to begin with. Notice how she handles secrets. A bad woman can't keep them. What you share in confidence becomes gossip for her circle. Your struggles, your fears, your private moments, suddenly they're topics for group chats or weapons in arguments. And a woman who can't protect your vulnerability is a woman who doesn't deserve your trust. A bad woman also loves attention more than she loves you, and you'll see it in how she acts online. She's always fishing for validation, always posting just enough to invite comments, always needing the spotlight. There's nothing wrong with confidence, but when attention becomes her drug, you'll realize you're competing with 1,000 strangers on the internet for her energy. And no matter how much you give, it'll never be enough because her appetite for validation is endless. But perhaps the clearest sign of a bad woman is this: she doesn't make you better. Relationships should refine you, challenge you, elevate you. A good woman inspires you to grow, to push harder, to believe more. But a bad woman leaves you doubting yourself, second-guessing your worth, losing your edge. If you look in the mirror and realize you were stronger, happier, more confident before she came into your life, that's all the evidence you need. And here's the trap most men fall into. They confuse intensity with love. They think the highs and lows, the drama, the passion, the constant tension means this must be real. But that's not real. That's dysfunction. Real love is steady, not stagnant, but steady. Real love feels safe, not suffocating. Real love grows you, not drains you. If your relationship feels like survival, it's not love, it's a war. And the woman standing across from you isn't your partner, she's your opponent. And yet, so many men stay. They stay because they're afraid of being alone. They stay because they've invested too much time. They stay because they think leaving means failing. But let me tell you, staying with a bad woman doesn't mean you're loyal. It means you're afraid. Walking away isn't failure, it's freedom. And until you recognize the signs, until you face the truth, you'll keep handing your power to someone who doesn't deserve it. Would you like me to keep pushing forward for another 2,000 words in this exact rhythm? Or do you want me to extend this in sections so you can guide the direction as we build? You said, Cantina generatai for 2,000 more mods, gotita tulange and corinculid piara girapia. ChatGPT said absolutely. I'll continue right where I left off, keeping the flow raw sharp. And in that same persuasive rhythm, no headings, no conclusion, just an unbroken continuation for another 2,000 words. And the reason most men don't walk away is because they've been convinced that love means endurance, that the more you tolerate, the stronger your relationship is. That if you keep proving yourself, if you keep swallowing your pride, if you keep bending over backwards, eventually she'll see your worth. But here's the reality. Endurance without reciprocity isn't love, it's slavery. Love is not measured by how much pain you can absorb. It's measured by how much peace you can share. And if peace is absent, what you're calling love is really just an addiction to chaos. Think about how much of your life you lose when you ignore these signs. You lose sleep replaying arguments in your head. You lose money trying to buy her happiness. Money that never seems to fill the hole in her soul. You lose friendships because she isolates you, makes you choose her over them until you're left with no support system. You lose focus because your energy is spent managing her emotions instead of building your future. A bad woman doesn't just take from you in the relationship, she steals from your entire life. And by the time you wake up, years have passed, and you're left wondering how you became a shadow of yourself. A bad woman also thrives on comparison with your past. She'll bring up your ex, accuse you of still thinking about her, still caring about her, still talking to her, not because she actually believes it, but because it keeps you defensive. It keeps you proving your loyalty over and over again. It keeps you distracted from noticing her flaws because you're too busy trying to prove you're not guilty of imaginary crimes. That's her game. She creates fires so you spend all your time putting them out while she quietly takes more and more from you. And here's another sign: she never apologizes sincerely. If she says, sorry, it's followed by, but I'm sorry, but you made me angry. I'm sorry, but you should have done this differently. I'm sorry, but you're too sensitive. That's not an apology. That's a deflection. A real apology takes ownership. A bad woman avoids ownership like poison because ownership would mean admitting she's flawed. And in her mind, she can't be flawed. She has to be the perfect victim or the untouchable prize, never the one who actually caused the damage. Watch how she treats time. A bad woman wastes it because she doesn't value yours. She'll keep you waiting, cancel at the last second, blow up your phone when you're busy, but disappear when you need her. Time is the most valuable resource you have, and a bad woman treats it like it's disposable. But the truth is, she's showing you where you rank on her list of priorities. And if she consistently disrespects your time, she's telling you she doesn't respect your life. Another sign is how she views accountability. A bad woman will hold grudges over your mistakes forever, but expects instant forgiveness for hers. She has a mental notebook of every wrong you've ever done, and she pulls it out whenever she needs leverage. But the moment you bring up her wrongdoing, she accuses you of living in the past. That's not fairness, that's hypocrisy. And living with hypocrisy eats at your soul because no matter what you do, you're always the villain in her story while she gets to play the saint. A bad woman also weaponizes silence. When she's upset, instead of communicating, she shuts down completely. She ignores your calls, your messages, your attempts to talk. She punishes you with withdrawal, not to solve the problem, but to make you chase her. That's not communication, that's control. Silence becomes a leash she uses to make you beg for her attention. And by the time she finally speaks, you're so desperate for peace that you'll agree to anything. That's how she wins, not by solving the conflict, but by training you to fear her silence more than her words. And let's not ignore finances. A bad woman sees your wallet as her lifeline. She measures your love by how much you spend, not how much you sacrifice. She'll pressure you into debt just to keep up with her desires. And when you finally say no, she'll accuse you of being stingy or unmanly. For here's the truth: a woman who ties your value to money doesn't love you. She loves what you provide. And when that provision runs out, so does her loyalty. Now pay attention to how she speaks about men in general. If every man in her life is trash, if every man she knows is toxic, if she generalizes that all men are the problem, understand that one day she'll lump you into the same category because in her mind, she's never accountable. It's always men who are the issue. That perspective guarantees she'll never reflect on her own behavior. And you'll spend your life trying to prove you're the good one in a category she's already condemned. A bad woman also thrives on insecurity. She doesn't want you confident. She doesn't want you growing. She doesn't want you thriving. Because a man who's confident is a man who might realize he doesn't need her. So she subtly cuts at you. She questions your decisions. She mocks your dreams. She laughs at your ideas. And over time, you stop dreaming, you stop striving, you stop believing in yourself because her voice in your ear has drowned out your own. That's how powerful words are, and a bad woman uses them like blades, not like seeds. Look at how she reacts when you pull away. A good woman asks, "What's wrong? How can we fix it?" A bad woman panics, not because she's afraid of losing you, but because she's afraid of losing control. She'll suddenly shower you with attention, affection, promises of change. But it's temporary. The second you let your guard down, she goes back to the same patterns. That's the cycle: control, chaos, withdrawal, affection, repeat. And the longer you stay, the harder it is to see the cycle clearly because your emotions keep you trapped. Another sign is her relationship with truth when she's caught. A bad woman doesn't just lie, she doubles down. Even when you have proof, even when the evidence is in front of her, she'll deny it until you question your own sanity. And if denial doesn't work, she'll flip into anger. Attack you for even questioning her. That's not defense, that's manipulation. And if you allow it, you'll spend your life in a cycle of doubt, always questioning yourself instead of her actions. Pay attention to how she handles joy. A bad woman is never truly satisfied. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. No matter what experience you create, she finds flaws in it. No matter how much you sacrifice, she minimizes it. Why? Because satisfaction means peace, and peace doesn't feed her need for control. So she'll always keep you chasing, always keep you working harder, always keep you feeling like you're not enough. That's how she ensures the balance of power stays in her favor. And here's something men often ignore. How does she treat your family? If she disrespects your mother, mocks your father, looks down on your siblings, understand that's not love. Love doesn't isolate, it integrates. A bad woman will try to separate you from anyone who might expose her, anyone who might remind you of your worth. And the more you distance yourself from your family, the more power she gains over you. That's strategic, not coincidental. A bad woman also changes her mask depending on who's watching. To your friends, she's charming. To your family, she's polite. But behind closed doors, she's someone else entirely. That dual personality is not just confusing, it's intentional. She wants to make sure that when you finally reach out for help, no one believes you. Because to the outside world, she looks perfect and you look like the ungrateful one. That's how she isolates you even further, not just physically, but socially. Another sign is constant testing. She pushes your buttons just to see how far she can go. She flirts with boundaries, then laughs when you react. She disrespects agreements, then says you're overreacting. She cheats emotionally, maybe even physically, then blames you for not giving her enough. Every test is designed to stretch your tolerance, and every time you forgive, you teach her that the boundary doesn't exist. That's how bad women slowly take control, by seeing what you'll allow and then expanding it. And let's not forget the biggest sign, your intuition. Deep down, you feel it in your chest, in your gut, in that small, quiet voice that whispers, this isn't right. But the problem is you don't listen. You drown it out with excuses, with hope, with fear of starting over. But your intuition is rarely wrong. When a woman is truly bad for you, your soul knows it long before your mind admits it. And if you ignore that voice, you'll pay the price, not just in heartbreak, but in wasted years, in lost opportunities, in broken confidence. Because a bad woman doesn't just break your heart, she breaks your spirit. And recovering from that takes far longer than you think. That's why recognizing the signs early is so crucial. It's not just about avoiding pain, it's about protecting your future. And here's the reality most men don't want to admit. When you're with a bad woman, you don't just compromise, you collapse. Piece by piece, you lose yourself. At first, it's small things. You give up certain hobbies because she doesn't like them. Then it's your friends because she doesn't approve of them. Then it's your ambitions because she makes you feel guilty for not spending enough time with her. Before you know it, you wake up one day and realize you're not the man you used to be. You're weaker, quieter, more hesitant, more doubtful. And that's exactly what she wants. Because the smaller you become, the easier it is for her to control you. Bad women thrive on power, and the most dangerous kind of power is emotional power. They don't need physical strength. They use words silence, guilt, tears, and seduction. They know how to make you feel like the villain even when you're the one suffering. They know how to flip the script so that their mistakes become your fault. And the longer you stay, the more you begin to accept that twisted reality as truth. A bad woman has another habit. She never supports your discipline. If you're trying to save money, she tempts you to spend. If you're trying to get healthy, she mocks your diet. If you're working on your goals, she distracts you with drama. Why? Because your discipline threatens her control. A focused man is a dangerous man because a focused man can see clearly. And if you see clearly, you'll recognize she's been the anchor holding you back all along. So she chips away at your discipline, little by little, until you give in. Pay attention to her language. A bad woman uses ultimatums constantly. If you don't do this, I'll leave. If you don't prove yourself, I'll find someone who will. Ultimatums are weapons, not boundaries. Boundaries protect, ultimatums control. And when you give in to them, you teach her that threats are the fastest way to get what she wants. A relationship ruled by threats isn't love, it's hostage-taking. And let's talk about attention, seeking. A bad woman is never satisfied with just your focus. She needs everyone's. She thrives on eyes being on her. She'll create chaos in social situations to make herself the center of attention. She'll use her looks, her charm, her energy not to connect, but to compete. And if you call her out, she'll accuse you of being insecure, jealous, controlling. But deep down, you know it's not insecurity. You're simply recognizing that her hunger for attention is greater than her hunger for commitment. Another sign is her constant need for validation. No matter how much you reassure her, it's never enough. You can tell her she's beautiful 100 times, but the moment you forget once, she accuses you of not caring. That endless craving for validation becomes a trap. You spend all your time trying to fill a bottomless cup while she continues to drain yours. And the sad truth is, a woman who doesn't feel whole within herself will never feel whole no matter what you give. A bad woman also thrives on comparison with your weaknesses. She knows exactly where you're vulnerable, and she weaponizes it. If you're insecure about your career, she'll bring it up in every argument. If you have a past mistake, she'll remind you of it when it benefits her. If you've trusted her with secrets, she'll use them as ammunition. That's not love, that's betrayal. And the more you allow it, the more she learns that your pain is her power. Notice how she handles your successes. Does she celebrate you or does she compete with you? A bad woman can't stand when you shine because it threatens her control. So instead of supporting, She minimizes. It's not that big of a deal. Anyone could have done that. You think you're better than me now. Her jealousy disguises itself as sarcasm, but its purpose is clear: to keep you small, to keep you doubting, to keep you dependent. And here's something else. A bad woman doesn't know how to argue to resolve. She argues to win. Every disagreement is a competition, every conversation a battlefield. She doesn't listen to understand. She listens to find weaknesses in your words so she can strike harder. Arguments with her never end in resolution, they end in exhaustion. And you walk away not feeling closer, but feeling drained, broken, and more confused than before. That's because she's not interested in solutions, she's interested in dominance. A bad woman also thrives on making you chase her moods. One day she's warm and affectionate, the next day she's cold and distant. And you spend your time trying to figure out what you did wrong, how to fix it, how to get back into her good graces. But here's the truth: you didn't do anything wrong. Her moods are weapons and you're the target. The inconsistency is intentional because it keeps you hooked on the possibility that maybe if you try hard enough, you'll get the good version of her permanently. But that version isn't permanent, it's bait. And look at her history. Patterns don't lie. If every past relationship ended in chaos, if every man before you is the villain in her story, what makes you think your ending will be different? Men love to believe they'll be the exception, but more often than not, they're just the next chapter. A bad woman doesn't suddenly transform because you showed up. She continues the cycle because it's all she knows. Unless she chooses to heal, to reflect, to grow, she'll drag you through the same storm she's dragged everyone else through. Another sign is the absence of gratitude. She expects, she demands, she takes, but she rarely thanks. And when gratitude is absent, entitlement grows. Before long, everything you do is no longer appreciated, it's expected. And when appreciation disappears, so does love. Because love without gratitude turns into obligation, and obligation feels like a prison. A bad woman also loves to stir jealousy in you. She'll talk about other men, flirt in front of you, mention who's interested in her, not because she's seeking attention, but because she wants to test your action. She wants to know how much power she has over your emotions. And if you explode, she'll call you insecure. If you stay calm, she'll push harder. Either way, she wins because you're playing a game you never agreed to play. Pay attention to how she treats commitment. Does she talk about forever, or does she keep one foot out the door? A bad woman loves to keep you on edge, never fully secure, never fully certain. She'll dangle the promise of a future just enough to keep you invested, but never enough to truly build with you. And that constant uncertainty keeps you trapped in limbo, hoping for a future that will never come. And here's the most painful truth: bad women know exactly what they're doing. They know the power of their beauty, their charm, their presence. They know how to say the right words at the right time. They know how to cry when they need sympathy, how to smile when they need forgiveness, how to kiss when they need distraction. Don't fool yourself into thinking it's accidental. Bad women are masters of emotional strategy, and if you're not sharp, you'll be outplayed every time. But there's another layer. Sometimes a bad woman isn't bad because she's malicious, but because she's broken. And brokenness untreated becomes toxic. She carries pain from her past, wounds from childhood, betrayals from other men, and instead of healing, she projects them onto you. And while that might explain her behavior, it doesn't excuse it. You can empathize with her pain, but you cannot sacrifice yourself on the altar of her brokenness. Healing is her responsibility, not your job. Now think about the cost. Every day you spend with a bad woman is a day you could have spent building yourself. Every argument is energy you could have invested in your goals. Every tear is focus you could have poured into your vision. Every compromise is a piece of yourself you'll never get back. And when it's all said and done, the worst part isn't that she wasted your time, it's that you allowed it. That's the bitter truth most men don't want to face. And yet, despite all the signs, despite all the warnings, despite all the inner whispers telling you this isn't right, many men stay. They stay because they confuse attachment with love. They stay because they fear loneliness more than dysfunction. They stay because they think starting over means failure. But the truth is, staying is the real failure. Staying means you chose comfort over courage. Staying means you let fear make your decisions. Staying means you accepted less than you deserved. A bad woman doesn't just hurt you in the present. She poisons your future. Because when you finally leave, when you finally break free, you carry her voice in your head. Every insult, every doubt, every wound lingers. You question if you're good enough, if you're lovable, if you're strong enough. That's the scar a bad woman leaves. Not just the memory of her, but the shadow of her voice echoing long after she's gone. And unless you heal, unless you rebuild, you'll carry that into the next relationship, and the cycle repeats.